Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ramen Robbie back with another video. This one's going to be another sports gaming kind of video. Right now I have some NFL 2K5 playing in the background, and throughout the video I'll have some overlays. But this video is going to be about a potential NFL 2K game in the future. Last month it was announced that NFL 2K is indeed returning after 16 long years. Now there's a big catch to that. It's returning in non-simulation form, which basically means it has to be an arcade-style game. It's not going to be legitimate competition to Madden. But for this video, we're going to put that aside. Let's just assume that NFL 2K does return in simulation form. Here are my concerns with that. Now I want to preface this by saying I'm a huge NFL 2K5 fan. I've been playing it every year since its inception. There are few things I want more in the world than a sequel to that game. But I do have some concerns with another simulation NFL 2K game, and I'd like to share them with you guys. So here we go. My first biggest concern is in the form of a question. Who is left from the original NFL 2K5 development team? Because let's be honest, NFL 2K5 came out 16 years ago. That is a long time ago. So it's very likely that a whole new development team would be assigned to this potential NFL 2K game, which means they could have a totally different vision for the game. That would probably upset a great deal of people. I know it would me. Now I have heard from some people that one of the head guys from 2K5 is still working for 2K today and he works on the basketball game. And while that's somewhat good news, he is just one guy, so it's very likely that he would have a completely different team surrounding him. So to sum up my first concern, who is left from the original 2K team? If anybody knows, please leave a comment. My next biggest concern is a pretty interesting one, and it often gets overlooked, and that is league restrictions. In 2012, EA Sports revived the beloved NFL Blitz series, but most people considered it a disappointment because it had a lot of restrictions to it. For example, late hits were taken out. So it was basically a neutered version of the NFL Blitz we all know and love. Now this happened because the NFL put a lot of restrictions on EA. They didn't let them put things in the game that would tarnish the image of player safety. And this can all be traced back to that concussion scandal that resulted in that Will Smith movie a few years back. Ever since then, the NFL has put a lot of restrictions on their game in hopes of making the game of football appear safer. You ever wonder why you don't see a player's helmet fly off of his head in Madden? Well, that's why. This is very silly to me because who in their right mind would let a video game affect their view of a sport in real life? It's beyond ridiculous, and worst of all, it hurts immersion. But now let's talk about how this would affect a future NFL 2K game. Well, remember in NFL 2K5 when a player would get hurt, a cart would sometimes roll onto the field? Well, that would never be allowed in an NFL game nowadays. And remember how players would sometimes suffer a concussion in a game? Like the injury report would literally say concussion? Well, there's no chance in hell that would be allowed in a new NFL 2K game. And player safety is just one example of this. I'm sure there were other things about NFL culture that were different in 2004. So to sum up my concern, league restrictions would be a huge pain in the ass and would certainly hurt the immersion of a future NFL 2K game. My next biggest concern is a pretty obvious one, and that is microtransactions. Now this is probably the most polarizing issue facing sports games today. It's one of the main reasons that NBA 2K is looked at less and less favorably every year. You know, it's funny, whenever microtransactions come up, I always think back to that great GoldenEye meme. It said something like, remember when you played instead of paid to unlock levels like these? That's honestly the truest and most powerful sentiment ever. But times are just different now. Microtransactions are not going away. Doesn't matter how unpopular they are, there will always be enough 12-year-olds who use their parents' credit card to unlock shit. That's just the way it is. The innocence of NFL 2K5, where you simply play for hours to unlock things from the crib, is a thing of the past. A modern NFL 2K game would have the option of paying $50 to unlock everything. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. Now I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, but you get the picture. Microtransactions equal bad. My next biggest concern involves NBA 2K. If NFL 2K were to return in full simulation form, that would almost certainly have a negative effect on the NBA 2K series, because currently NBA 2K is 2K's baby, so it gets the most attention and makes the most money. That's why it looks and plays as amazing as it does. Now I know people have been bitching about it in recent years, but I honestly think it's because we've been so spoiled by how great it's been. It really isn't that bad. But if NFL 2K were in the picture, NBA 2K wouldn't get as much attention, and dare I say it might even fall to the wayside, because it doesn't have any competition due to NBA Live being in shambles for a decade now. Now a lot of you probably don't care, a lot of you probably aren't NBA fans, but I'm a fan, so I don't want NBA 2K to go to shit, which would probably happen if NFL 2K came back. So that's one thing to keep in mind. My next concern is going to ruffle some feathers, but it has to be said. The last football game 2K ever made was All-Pro Football 2K8. Now this game is held in very high regard. In fact, some say it's on par with NFL 2K5. To me, that is absurd. I consider All-Pro Football to be a pretty trash game, honestly. I mean, don't get me wrong, the gameplay is fine, and it's certainly way better than Madden's, but the game itself was very thin. It felt soulless, and you could tell there wasn't any passion put into it. It was basically a copy and paste of NFL 2K5, but it was downgraded in several areas. For example, the kick meter sucks. NFL 2K5 had perhaps the best kick meter ever, and All-Pro Football had perhaps the worst. And so far, this is the only football game we have to judge 2K Sports on. Remember, 2K5 was made by Sega, not 2K Sports. So if All-Pro Football is any indication of what a future NFL 2K game would look like, I am very concerned. Now I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but I'm just being honest here. I've given this game plenty of chances, trust me. I got it all the way back in 2011, but it just doesn't cut it if you ask me. I mean, they couldn't even get the music right. They included the amazing Rush song Tom Sawyer, but it was some shitty remix instead of the original version. Terrible. But moving on. My last concern is again one that has fallen under the radar, and that is the ESPN license. For those of you who don't know what ESPN license means, it's what allowed NFL 2K5 to integrate ESPN into their game. And if you ask me, the ESPN license was a huge reason why NFL 2K5 was so successful. If it was just called NFL 2K5, I'm not sure it would have been as successful. If you take away Chris Berman, if you take away the halftime show, the Sports Center feature, the ESPN 25th anniversary mode, the ESPN music that plays in the menus, if you take all those things away, I don't know if it's the same game. I really don't. I mean, sure, the gameplay is still there, it's the bread and butter, but man, the ESPN thing just enhanced it and took it to the next level. And here's the thing, in 2020, 2K doesn't own the ESPN license. It's currently in the hands of EA Sports, although the deal does end this year. But I will say this, the ESPN license just wouldn't be the same in 2020. ESPN isn't the company they used to be, they've lost a lot of on-air talent over the years. Everything from the graphics on the screen just isn't as cool as it used to be. 2K would have to get some kind of license to enhance the game. I've always suggested CBS. I think 2K should acquire the CBS license and build an NFL game around CBS. Just like how 2K5 was called ESPN NFL 2K5, well, this would be called CBS NFL 2K22 or whatever year. You could replace Chris Berman with James Brown, it would be perfect. But unfortunately, that will probably never happen. So my main point here is that ESPN had a lot to do with NFL 2K5's success, and I think that gets overlooked. Now this last point isn't really a concern, it's just a question I'm going to pose to you guys. What if NFL 2K comes back and it tarnishes the legacy of NFL 2K5? Because right now 2K5 has a bulletproof legacy. It's a deity almost. As absurd as that sounds, that's really what it is. What if NFL 2K comes back and just isn't good? Or it just isn't the same? You're kind of tarnishing the NFL 2K legacy there. Also, here's an analogy. Say NBA 2K11 stopped after 2K11. We'd all be saying, can you imagine where this game would be today? It would be unbelievable, it would be amazing. That's how everybody talks about NFL 2K5. Well, we do see where NBA 2K is today, and it's good, but many people are unhappy with it. This is probably because 2K reached a peak around 2K16. NFL 2K would eventually do the same. Hell, they might have done that with NFL 2K5. We just don't know. So I'm just going to pose that question to you guys. Do you want to risk ruining the legacy of NFL 2K5? Well guys, we've reached the end of the video. Those are all of my concerns with a potential NFL 2K simulation game. Now, I want to make this one thing clear. Like I alluded to in the beginning of the video, I am a huge NFL 2K fan. I would accept another NFL 2K game in a heartbeat. Putting everything I just said aside, I'd be ecstatic if they announced that they're making a simulation 2K game next year. But I do have some concerns, and this is what this video is for. It's just to put this out there. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this stuff, so in a lot of ways this video is kind of overdue. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please follow me on Twitter. Please consider supporting me on Patreon. And I've been streaming live on YouTube a lot lately. Some of you may have noticed I've been playing NFL 2K5, so pop in the stream, say hi sometime. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, so until next time, I'm Ramen Robbie, and I'll see you guys next time.